This video is brought to you by the new digitaldjpool.com. At this website, you guys can go and find all of the tracks that you're going to need. They have thousands of tracks and they update their lists daily. They're only $1 for the first 5-day trial, so that way you can download up to 50 tracks every single day in order to get the tracks you need. And then after that, if you want to continue with the service, it's only $15 a month and you can download unlimited tracks with that membership. All their MP3s are 320 kilobytes per second in high quality, so that way you're always going to get tracks that sound great every single time. So go on and check them out at www.digitaldjpool.com. What's going on? This is Kareem from DJBooth.net, and I'm here in the lab to give you guys a really quick review video of the brand new Native Instruments Traktor Kontrol S2 MK3 Edition controller. So what we have here is the newest controller for the 2-channel variety for Traktor Pro 3, which was just announced and just came out a few months ago. And to follow that up, they came out with the S2 MK3 and the S4 MK3. We recently unboxed both of those units. We'll have the S4 MK3 review ready for you guys within the next couple of weeks, right after NAMM. We're going to bring you guys this review right now. And we also have the S2 MK2 sitting here on the desk with us, so that way we can have a quick comparison and you can see the differences right there at a glance, so that way you know whether you like the new changes that they've done to the S2 MK3 or maybe you like some of the old things that they used to do with the S2 MK2. So the new controller comes in at only $320 price point, while the old controller came in at about a $450 price point when it first came out. So you do have differences in prices there. They both came bundled with the full Traktor Pro at the time. That was Traktor Pro 2. Now this comes bundled with the brand new Traktor Pro 3. The new software isn't that much different from Traktor Pro 2. It does have a better aesthetic. It looks a little bit better than it used to. The fonts are a little bit more clearer, and it also has a brand new way to use these onboard mixer effects within the Traktor program. And you can see that here in the middle of the mixer section of the Traktor Kontrol S2. They also have it on the S4, and you also still have all the other effects that you always had in the original Traktor. These are just simpler to use and they're more quick, gratifying effects, so that way it's easier for a beginner to have them here. And as you'll notice right off the bat in the layout, that there is no effects modules on this layout, but they do have really big jog wheels as compared to the last iteration jog wheel size. As you can see, they're quite small here and they're mechanical, meaning you actually have to push the top in order to grab and scratch, while on the newer iteration of the S2 you have this touch sensitive metal top platters. They do feel really good to the touch, but I do have to admit that I do kind of like the feel of the mechanical jog wheels a little bit better, even though they're a little bit smaller. I'm a hip-hop DJ overall, and I like to scratch a lot, and I do feel like the scratching capability of the S2 MK2 was a little bit better there than it was on the S2 MK3, even regardless of the jog wheel size. Also, for quick impressions, the two feel very different in quality. The outside quality of the new iteration S2 MK3 definitely feels more plasticky, more lightweight, more flimsy to me. This had a more metal top finish to it, and it just felt like it was a more sturdy product overall. It has more weight to it, more heft to it, and these things have really survived through many gigs that other DJs on the internet have shown that these things can just really take a beating, and they do keep on ticking and keep lasting for years and years. This is the same one that we reviewed years and years ago. We took it out for many gigs. We do have a few scuffs and scrapes here and there, but it works very well, as it did in the first day. I'm not saying that the MK3 isn't as durable, because only time will tell that, but it doesn't have the metal top finish. It just feels all plasticky, and even the knobs and the faders and everything just feels a lot more cheaply done than it was on the MK2 edition. Also, the MK2 edition of the S2 was more like a trimmed down version of the S4 MK2. So you had the same style of feel of everything. Everything just felt exactly the same exact same jog wheels, exact same knobs, exact same buttons, while the quality of the S2 MK3 feels totally different from the S4 MK3. The S4 MK3 feels like a much more robust unit, much more quality. Even the buttons and knobs feel different. So you're not really just getting a trimmed down version of an S4 anymore. You're getting a totally revamped S2, and that probably helped in keeping down on the price point and making it more accessible and easier to get into for beginners. So the setup was fairly easy. You do have to go online and use the native access program on your computer in order to download the Traktor Pro 3 software and to register your brand new device. But once you plug it in, it wasn't like the Traktor of old where you had to go through all these settings and make all these different changes. It was pretty much plug and play, really quick and easy to set up with Traktor Pro 3. And that's a big kudos to Native Instruments for making the setup much easier on the Traktor Pro 3 version than it was on the Traktor Pro 2 version with the older controllers. So now we're going to put this bad boy right here on the desk. We're going to go through all the inputs and outputs and let you guys know what we think of every single feature and function within the S2 MK3. Alright, so here it is, the Traktor Kontrol S2 MK3, and on the front panel we're going to see the 3.5 millimeter headphone output jack. There is no 1/4 inch here, it's only the 3.5 millimeter. And around the back, we have two little screw holes here that is presumably for an iPad or iPhone mount holder of some type. These are not yet in use, but I'm sure they will be at one point or another. Then you have a Kensington lock here. You also have a mic gain volume control knob. This is a hard plastic knob. You also have the 1/4 inch microphone input. Then you have two outputs here. You have a 3.5 millimeter output for portable systems, and you also have an RCA output. Then you also have an iPad port, so this is so you can connect your iPad later on when Traktor Pro 3 is compatible with iPads and iPhones. Next up, you have your USB port to connect to your computer, and then you have your power port as well. This does not come bundled with any type of power source, but the Traktor Kontrol S4 MK3 does. And with that plugged in, I did get slightly higher volumes on my headphone output, and the lights were a little bit brighter overall on the controller. Alright, so here it is, the Traktor Kontrol S2 MK3. And right off the bat, we'll take it from the bottom to the top of the mixer. All the way at the bottom, we have a crossfader here. The crossfader is rather plastic feeling, but it's very, very quick. And it is pretty accurate for most of your small scratches and cuts that you want to pull off with it. Then you have your VU meters in the middle. They're very small, but they do work pretty accurately. And then you have your Q button for both of your different channels. You also have line faders here, and they have nice smooth feel to them. They are, again, very plasticky feeling overall, but they do feel smooth and they feel like they're going to last quite a long time. They do have a lot more tension to them, which I actually like for the line faders. It's perfect for when you're mixing. And right above your fader section, you have your new mixer effects section. Here you have instant gratification effects. You can select between 4 different effects here. There are 8 of them total within the software, but you get 2 different delays. You get a crush effect, you get a noise effect, you get filters, flanger, and a few others. And they do sound really, really good. Right now we have set to dotted delay, dual delay, reverb, and flanger. We'll give you guys a quick example of that.
I'm exhausted, I kill this nigga 2 times, 24 hours, man, this shit been a repetitive day. Nigga tell me is it joint and Lucas joint.
Next, above that, we have your headphone volume control knob, and then your mix master. This will control whatever you have queued up or whatever your master is playing. Then you have your sampler volume control knob. This will adjust the level of your samples that you have or your remix decks that you have set up right here on your pads. Next up, you have your master control volume knob. Then you have your low, mid, and high EQs for each of your channels, along with the gain knob all the way on top. Next, we'll look at the decks individually. They're both the same. They're not mirrored. They're actually looking like 2 separate decks here with the same controls all situated on the same side for each of them. All the way up to the top left, you have your reverse and your flux or slip mode buttons, so that way you can make this track play in reverse.
Deploy your label, Joshua, who's the lawyer? Bob, they own the zoo, and Joshua, they own the zoo, they going and who's condoning on the zoo, and all the bitch, you two can join and try to.
Next up, you have your browse knob up at the top here, so that way you can browse and select your different tracks that you want. You notice you have a separate browse knob for each of your different decks. All you have to do is select the different track that you want or the folder, and you can navigate or load the track by just pressing in on this encoder. You have a little button here that allows you to add a track to one of your set lists, and then you have another button here that allows you to switch between a regular view versus a library view on screen, so that way you can scroll through all of your tracks easier. Next, you have a grid button. This allows you to adjust the beat grid of your track by holding this grid button and using the jog wheel in order to turn, so that way you can get it perfectly aligned to right on your beats. Next up is the jog wheel itself, and the jog wheel is no longer pressure sensitive. It's all touch sensitive. It does have a very nice feel to it, very good weight. They're very, very accurate, and they just feel good to the touch. Again, I definitely do like the other jog wheels better though on the S2 MK2. For some reason, that mechanical feel to me just feels a little bit better, and they're actually a little bit looser, which is better for my scratching style. This might be a better beat matching alternative here, but it works very, very well. It does have a nice bigger surface to it, which is a big plus, and they feel really weighted nicely, and they just have a good implementation when using them in the Traktor Pro 3 software. Next up is the bottom section of each of your decks. You have your play, pause, cue button and a shift button here. Also, you have your pads here in the middle. Then you have your tempo slider. The tempo sliders are rather small on the short side, but they are very, very smooth. They feel really good to the touch, and they do actually have a lot of accuracy within them, but they just are too small for me. I'd rather see something a little bit bigger. The S4 MK3 has much bigger tempo sliders, and I like that a lot better because I still do lots of manual beat matching. You have a sync button here at the top, and then you have a key lock button right above the pitch slider. Next, you have your loop section or your move section. The move allows you to jump ahead in the track in different increments that you may have highlighted already in the software. You could do by eighth beat, quarter, half, 4 bars, whatever you need to change this to, you can jump into the track through. Then you also have your loop encoder here, which allows you to enact a loop as soon as you press down on the encoder. And if you have that done with the flux mode enabled, you'll have a loop roll.
Smoke, but he likes getting too spooked to join it. I'm a nasty nigga, ask these niggas, the shotty double popping in the backseat, nigga. I'm about to leave his body bloody. Gotta text these niggas, get at these niggas, the venomous arachne, nigga. I'm about to kill them in.
Next, you have your pad section here. You have 8 pads here, which is an improvement over the S2 MK2 because the bottom pads were actually your transport control. So now here you have access to all 8 of your hot cues or your samples all at once. You can use this in hot cue mode, and they're very responsive pads. They are on the small side, and they do have a center click to them, but they're very, very accurate, and they're really good for finger drumming as well.
In the man in the back, pussy ass nigga with a clothesline, pussy ass nigga with a clothesline, pussy ass nigga with a clothesline. I'ma have to catch a nigga slipping in my own time. I shit.
You also have the samples mode here, where you can use these as your top remix deck slots, and you can load 4 samples on each one of your decks here, and then you'll be able to play them and mute them and pause them by using the bottom buttons here for your control. Really cool to have this many tracks at your fingertips in case you want to use more than just the 2 decks that are here present for you. So in conclusion, the brand new Traktor Kontrol S2 MK3 is a good beginner controller, a good entry-level controller for anyone who wants to get into the Traktor ecosystem without spending an arm and a leg. It comes in at $320 price point at the time of this review. It also comes bundled with the full Traktor Pro 3 software, so you can utilize all of the features and functions within the software that may not even be on this controller itself. It also has those really nice large jog wheels that are very high in resolution. They feel really good to the touch, and they have very, very good response times with them and very much little latency. It also has those really simple mixer effects in the middle here, which is perfect for a beginner DJ or DJs that don't use a lot of effects overall. On the downside, the build quality of the S2 MK3 is lacking when compared to the S4 MK3 and when compared to the last iteration of the same controller, the S2 MK2 edition. It doesn't have any of the metal reinforcements or the metal faceplate that the old edition had. Even the knobs feel a little bit harder and plastic. They don't feel as robust and like they're working as good as what was on the S2 MK2. I'm sure that they're gonna last and it's built with quality in mind, but if you're gonna take this with you on the go, definitely get a case, definitely get a bag, and be very, very careful. They also have brand new deck savers out for this device, so make sure you get that as well if you're going to use this and bring it with you on the go. It also has really, really small pitch sliders. I just like to see longer and bigger pitch sliders here. This is very high resolution pitch slider that's on here, and it works very, very well, and it feels very nice to the touch, but it would be much better if it was a bigger, longer pitch slider, so that way you can get those accurate, super accurate, tight beat matching effects that you need to do when you're using a pitch slider. It also has a lack of the traditional effects modules at the top. For some DJs, this may be a good thing, but for other DJs, it may be a bad thing, so it's worth pointing out that you don't have access to all of your effects within the Traktor Pro software using the face of the unit. Now, you can always go over to your computer and turn on all those effects and adjust them using your mouse and keyboard or another auxiliary controller, but the Traktor Kontrol S4 MK3 already has those built in, so it's a miss to see that they're not here when they used to be on the Traktor Kontrol S2 MK2 edition. So for more on the full review, you guys can head on over to www.djbooth.net/DJS, or you can click on the link in this description where you'll see the full out review over on the website. Also, make sure you guys hit the thumbs up if you like review videos like this. Hit thumbs up if you guys are going to NAMM this week, and make sure you guys hit the subscribe button so that way you know exactly when our new videos are coming out. All of our NAMM coverage is going to be there later in the week, so make sure you guys do that. Make sure you hit the little bell icon so that way you know exactly when the new videos come out. And as always, thanks for watching.